Hello everybody, hope you guys are enjoying your day. Today we're going to be looking at your severe weather outbreak, which is going to be happening over parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas. And then by tomorrow it's going to be moving eastward very rapidly, and it's going to be reaching the Carolinas, where you already have a marginal risk in place. And I think that might even be upgraded to a slight risk along the immediate coastal areas of North and South Carolina. So let's get right into it with today's video. We have, here's your National Weather Service page, and we have some heat advisories and high wind warnings for southwestern California. We have some red flag warnings there for a couple counties in Texas, and then we have some tornado watches for central parts of Florida. And then we have just some winter weather and winter storm warnings for areas through southeastern Wyoming, especially in those higher elevations. And then we even have some excessive heat watches over southern Arizona and over those areas through southern California and southern Arizona. You're actually going to have temperatures that are reaching the lower and middle 90s for many areas. So it is going to be very warm, and I think it is warranted for that heat advisory since it is so early in the season. Now, something that's very interesting that caught my eye is that we actually have a tropical disturbance in the Pacific. We have Invest 90E here, and this, if this were to be named, this would be called Alvin. And we this is only about I would say 3 weeks from your from the tropical season in the Pacific actually starting. So it's not too far fetched that we do have a hurricane or a tropical disturbance at this time, and it does have an 80% chance of developing into some sort of tropical cyclone. So it is going to be moving up northwesterly here, and I'll show you the storm tracks here. You have many of your storm tracks on your models going to the west. We have one outlier going to the east, but for the most part, it looks to be going further out to the west here, and it's not gonna impact any land. I just thought it's very interesting that we already have a tropical cyclone to talk about, and especially as we get out to the Atlantic, and potentially sometimes if these cyclones in the Pacific go near land, I will be making videos on those, and I already have forecast graphics that I can pull out for those. So I'm definitely looking forward to hurricane season, and I'll be tracking it here on the channel. So let's get into your severe weather side of things today. We have a marginal risk in this would be for today. We have a marginal risk in that green, a slight risk in that yellow, and an enhanced risk for that little area of Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, and Oklahoma there in that orange. And as we continue here, here's your tornado risk, and we actually have a 2% chance there in that green, which goes from parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas, and then also for central and southern Florida. And then we even have a 5% chance in that brown and a 10% chance in a smaller area in that yellow. If you are in that 5 or 10% chance region, definitely beware of some potentially damaging severe weather. Now, here's your wind outlook, and we have a 5% chance in that brown, a 15% chance in that yellow, and a 30% chance in that red. As we continue here to central and southern Florida, we also have a 5 and 15% chance of some wind damage. Now, here's your hail risk, and we actually have a significant hatched region there in between that 15 and 30% region, and that's where you could have the chance of seeing 2-inch diameter hail or greater throughout that region, and then we even have a 5% chance surrounding that. Now, here is tomorrow's convective outlook, and I actually, looking at the models, I do think that you will see maybe potentially a slight risk of being added for some of these regions. And if the Storm Prediction Center really thinks that this is going to be something major, which I don't think personally it's going to be, but I do think there is the ingredients for something to really develop over the coastal parts of the Carolinas, just from what I've seen through the models and just looking at several different things. I do think there will be a slight risk, or at least there should be a slight risk in place for eastern North Carolina and eastern South Carolina, and potentially even there for Virginia there. But we do have a marginal risk from the Storm Prediction Center over the Carolinas through Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama there. And then we also have one for central and southern Florida. Here's your tornado risk, and we have a 2% chance in that green, and that's for much of the areas that were in that marginal risk. And then for your wind outlook, we have a 5% chance in that brown for those same areas that were in that marginal risk. And then we have a 5% chance for hail as well over pretty much the same areas there for the Carolinas, and then also for the Tennessee Valley. Now, Here is your simulated radar, and we're gonna look at the NAM 3K model, and we're gonna look at a couple different factors. We're gonna look at your precipitation, and then we're also gonna look at your dew points, and also we're going to look at your CAPE values, which is showing you how much energy is in the atmosphere. So as we continue here, this is going to be by early this morning. So this would be right around your noon time, as if we convert this to central time. And you're seeing some thunderstorms moving through the Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma area, but none of them are really too severe. But it's as you continue further on the day today, and this is going to be right around, I would say, about 6 p.m. here, and you're starting to see these lines of thunderstorms start to shoot up, and you're seeing them over eastern Texas and eastern Oklahoma, and you could imagine these are going to continue further and further to the east until we hit Arkansas and Louisiana. Then they dissipate, and then you're going to have another resurgence of some severe weather as we get to the coastal areas of the southeast. So here is this would be about 10 p.m. on today, and this is going to be showing you have some pretty intense thunderstorms over southwestern Arkansas, northeastern Texas, and as we continue this further on the day today, and as we continue into tomorrow, early tomorrow, we're going to be seeing these thunderstorms continue to move through, and some of them could produce some supercells and some tornadoes associated with those thunderstorms there. And as we continue, it starts to move further to the east, and they start to dissipate a little bit. And now we'll take a view of the southeast here, and as we continue, you see those thunderstorms really aren't too severe as they hit into the southeast. We have some severe ones over potentially northern Alabama, but it doesn't look to be too severe, and nothing that's going to be too damaging over those regions. It's really as you start to get further eastward. Look at that over western South Carolina, potentially into western North Carolina. We have some very intense rainfall that would already be severe because you could have some flash flooding in those regions. But then as we continue this, it's going to really break off into some supercells, and that's what could develop maybe a slight chance of a tornado. And as we continue this, starts to move further to the east, and you see those thunderstorms move further and further north. So here's what your cape is looking like, and we have some fairly decent cape to the south, but then it's really going to start moving northward as we head to this afternoon. We have cape values that are going to be nearing 6 to 7,000 in some of these areas, and that's very, very sufficient. We only need about 1,000 really to spark up a thunderstorm or two. So that's definitely, I think, something that we have to pay attention to. That we have some very high cape values. Most of those higher cape values are to the south, where your thunderstorms are not going to develop because you don't have really the right ingredients for them to develop. But as you get some wind shear, through Oklahoma, northern Texas, northern Louisiana, and into Arkansas, that's where I think those thunderstorms really could develop. And as we continue, this really dissipates as your thunderstorms start to eat up all that energy. And then as we continue to the southeast, we actually do have quite a bit of cape right ahead of these systems, and then you're going to see more cape as we continue with these systems. Now your cape is really only going to be sufficient as we get to the eastern North Carolina, eastern South Carolina region, so it's not going to be too major, and I don't think we're going to see any tornado outbreak or any of that. I just think that you should have probably a slight risk in place for the coastal areas of the Carolinas, because you do have that sufficient cape. You have about 1,000 to about 1,500 cape in those regions, so I think it is possible that a thunderstorm or two will spark up over those regions. But it's really going to depend. If we have some thunderstorms ahead of this, you're not going to see too many thunderstorms. If you have some showers before this event into the early morning hours, and if this moves a little bit further and faster, you're not going to see too much of a severe weather outbreak. So you're going to need to see really a lot of things play perfectly for the Carolinas, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, even into Virginia to see a severe weather outbreak. And I just don't think you're going to see too much. But a slight risk definitely could be in place over the eastern Carolinas as we get to tomorrow. Now here's your precipitation outlook from the Weather Prediction Center, and we are looking at anywhere in those blues. That's about half an inch to about an inch and a half, and we see that over much of those regions to the north, because this is all going to be supported by this big system that's going to be moving further to the east. This is going to be over the next 3 days, your precipitation, and we're going to have this big system overriding to the north as we get through the Ohio Valley, and then it's going to move further to the north into the northeast, and then we're going to see on the southern side of this is where we're really going to see that severe weather. And you see, where we get to the severe weather side of things, over areas through Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, even eastward through Tennessee and the Carolinas, you're not seeing too much precipitation, maybe up to half an inch to maybe even an inch in some regions, but it's nothing that's going to be too major. But I think if you do get one really heavy downpour in a very small amount of time, that could definitely lead to some flooding there. Now, let's start talking about your dew points, because ahead of this, you're really going to need some high dew points in order to get these thunderstorms to start going. You usually want above 60, even the upper 50s could definitely support a thunderstorm or two, but we are going to be right around that 60 mark. So severe weather, I don't think they should have put that enhanced risk over Arkansas and Louisiana. I think they're going a little bit too ambitious with that too. I think there isn't going to be too much severe weather. I think there will be severe weather, maybe a couple tornadoes over those regions, but I don't think it's going to be as severe as they're putting out on their website. Now, as we continue, you see we have dew points reaching up into the upper 50s, maybe some 60s, so I don't know how this is going to support one of those really big thunderstorms where you need higher dew points than that. And then as we move over to the southeast view of this, you see we do have some pretty dry dew points. Your dew points mainly in the 50s and 40s ahead of this, and then as those thunderstorms start to move on, you see the only areas that are within that 60 dew point range or higher is the eastern Carolinas. So that's why I think those regions are going to see the most severe weather out of this. If you look at the southeast, of course, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and Louisiana, I think overall they're going to see the most severe weather, but the Carolinas, they definitely will see definitely a thunderstorm or two, maybe an isolated tornado here or there. Now, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, as I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.